Hey guys, I'm Jax, a non-book boy, and this is my non-book boy review for The Wheel of Time, Season 3, Episode 5. Now sure, this might not have been as mind-blowing or earth-shattering, or just truly shocking in every single conceivable way, like last week's episode was, but there is something truly wonderful about just being back with the boys, or girls, or mysterious magic witch ladies who are potentially up to no good. Croaky old witch lady, I'm looking at you. Even though it's only been 1 week, it is great to be back with all our main characters. Perrin and Lady Gaga team up to save Matt's family. Matt and Min bicker on a boat. What more do you want? How about Egwene dream walking through the dream world like she's one of the characters from A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors? She's all like conjuring armor and being like, I'm gonna fight some kind of Freddy Krueger if she was incredibly sexy. Lanfear is essentially sexy lady Freddy Krueger, and it's a lot for my mind to process. I very much like Freddy Krueger, but it's never really entered the realm of sexualness. It's always just kind of campy, dumb, silly horror fun. Not to say I was thinking and like daydreaming throughout the episode of Lanfear cosplaying as Freddy Krueger and entering my dream world, and I wasn't thinking that. Why would you think I was thinking that? And I definitely wasn't thinking and daydreaming of myself wearing Freddy Krueger's hat while Lanfear wore the rest of the costume and she entered my dream world and we chatted and hung out. And why would you think I am thinking that? So this episode opens with Moiraine sitting on some kind of desert mountaintop hill crest situation, and she's doing some magic powers and trying to channel the Orb of Power Ups. As far as I'm aware from all the lovely comments, and once again, everything and anything I get wrong, or you just, want to say, hey, hit me up in the comments. I love hearing book things and clarifications on lore and mythology. Just please, 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 and everyone's been super amazing so far. I am a non-book boy. No spoilers for future book events. If it feels like we've 100% skipped over something or changed something that's not going to happen now, feel free to let me know in the comments. I love knowing that kind of stuff, but all future things, keep it vague. So, as far as I'm aware from comments and re-watching last week's episode, the Orb of Power Upness and magic and powerness is essentially like an orb version of turning Super Saiyan, or like Mario's mushrooms in Super Mario, where he just gets like a power up and a power boost. So that's how I'm essentially viewing it. So she's got the magic orb of power ups and she's doing all the magic powers, and it seems to be like she's channeling quite a lot more energy and power than we're used to seeing. She has a big explosion of power all over the place. But the thing that I thought was kind of interesting was the conversation after with her and Lan, which is kind of like, did you taste what was going on when I was doing a little bit of that channeling with the Orb of Power Ups? And he's like, yeah, that was completely fucked up. What was that? Don't do that again. But it kind of, I don't know, it kind of reminded me of someone talking about like an addiction, kind of talking about like that hunger and like that sense of euphoria, and that just, I don't know, the way that she and Lan were kind of talking about it kind of made me wonder if we're going to kind of head down a route of kind of a metaphor for drugs, addiction, and kind of it's going to be a bit of a One Ring situation, but if the One Ring like shot laser beams as well. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and I'm kind of intrigued to see how that plays out further. I don't really expect Moiraine's going to go full Golem or anything like that, but it would be really interesting to see her having to use this like Orb of Power-Ups to fight certain Forsaken, to do certain things to win this war, but at the same time like kind of having to cross this line. I wonder if that's going to play into the future dreams she's had through the Ruidian when she was going through the 3 rings and she sees every possible future outcome, where essentially, and I didn't really fully comprehend this when I was watching it, but essentially she breaks it down where she's like, okay, if I die, Rand wins. If Rand dies, I don't die, but we lose. So I kind of wonder how this Orb of Power is going to play into that, and I feel like there's going to be some very delightful / traumatic, intense scenes where she's essentially holding the orb like Frodo, and Lan is going to be our Samwise Gamgee, which is utterly delightful. I have kind of 2 working theories for how I feel like this whole Moiraine has to die for Rand to succeed and win the last battle against the Dark One will go, because on one hand I feel like Moiraine is very clearly, at least from the very beginning, obviously it is expanded and grown, and it isn't a one-for-one, But just in terms of vague inspiration and vague sameness, she is essentially our Gandalf in this story. And of course, spoilers for Lord of the Rings, but if you're watching this and you haven't seen Lord of the Rings, I don't know what to say. One, I don't believe you, and two, stop watching this video and go watch Lord of the Rings. I beg of thee. But yeah, so essentially she's Gandalf in this, and Gandalf obviously dies, but then comes back as Gandalf the White. So he gets a power-up, if you will. So I wonder if on one hand there's going to be kind of a subversion of the Gandalf-type character coming back, and Moiraine will actually have to die. And I'm actually not, I'm not getting the emotional, like, gravitas and seriousness, because in the back of my mind, I'm kind of like, I feel like she's probably going to be okay. Like, I don't know, just because she's such a main character. It does seem crazy to me that she won't live out this, like, world when they win. Or sorry, if they win. Let's be real. They're beating the Dark One. I mean, I feel like I'd be very unsatisfied if they lost. But at the same time, you will have casualties along the way. So, sure, maybe Moiraine will be one of those casualties. And it is like her realizing it, like, the inevitability of that is going to become the tragedy of it as we move forward, like, knowing it's definitely going to happen. But at the same time, I feel like because she knows it as an outcome, it's just, for me personally, I feel like it's more unlikely that that will actually come to pass. It's kind of more interesting if she has to kind of fight it and kind of try and, I don't know, do something to kind of, you know, change her future, change what she thinks is her destiny. So yeah, on one hand, sure, maybe it's a subversion of expectation where the Gandalf, the Moiraine, she dies. But I do think it's going to be something similar where she kind of, maybe she has to die, but in dying she's rebirthed in some way, maybe using this magic orb of power-ups. And then Moiraine the blue can come back, Moiraine the teal? Turquoise? Slightly lighter blue. Last thing on Moiraine for this week, I thought it was a really great scene with her and Mother. She goes into her dreams and they have a beautiful conversation. I do think it was a really important moment for them to have where she's like, I know some serious lore and information, and something I hate in series and movies and just storytelling is when characters know things and they just withhold it for, like, essentially no reason, and it's essentially just plot reasons, and so they can't sort out things or mend relationships or kind of figure stuff out because people just, like, don't speak to each other, which is always a little frustrating because it's like, if you just left a post-it note, they would know how to fix this, but you just didn't because you didn't. So it's great to have her immediately be like, I kind of hate Mother, because, like, at the end of season 2, she essentially sexually assaulted me, and I still kind of love that she's not over it, and she's like, no, we're not mending our situation. But then they also kiss at the end, so I'm like, maybe they will actually mend that situation, or maybe it's a last goodbye kiss, a dream kiss, I'm not sure. But yeah, I really like that she went to Mother, and she's like, the White Tower has to, like, go with Rand. You gotta be on Rand's side, bow to the dragon. And I kind of love how she's like, hey, I had one job, get the dragon. You had another job, prepare the White Tower. You didn't do your job. Prepare the White Tower, please, Mother. And of course, knowing what's going on with gravelly old witch lady, red character, you know the one, the only character that speaks like this. She's doing a whole Littlefinger political situation, and she's trying to get the votes to cage Rand. And I feel like just because it's the most interesting story beat to move forward, that'll definitely, like, she'll definitely win the vote. And I don't know if I get that in terms of, like, her political maneuvering. Like, nothing she's done makes me go, ooh, what a Littlefinger we've got on our hands. I just kind of feel like that's the most interesting thing to do plot-wise. So that's what's going to happen. She'll win the vote. She also lost the vote last time against Mother, so that's kind of just how these things go, I feel. So that's going to be really exciting, presumably, with the White Tower trying to cage Rand, and Rand's all like, don't, please? And then Moraine's like, I've got a magic orb of power. And she's like, yeah, lightning bolts all over the place. I'm very excited. And before we move on to the rest of the characters, I've got to do my famous, potentially infamous segment, Fashion Talk. It's Fashion Talk time. Wheel of Time. Jax talks about the fashion of Wheel of Time. So this week, a little less fashion talk than usual. And I feel ashamed because I didn't take enough notes on costumes. But usually they just hit me. They just, like, you know, they speak to me and then I say what I thought. So yeah, I feel like there's just less fashion things to talk about this week, which is, you know, honestly quite disappointing. But the two things that really struck me was, in the dream world, Moiraine talks to Mother, and Mother's usually dressed in the big gold and white kind of whatever, like the big, I'm the leader here kind of clothes. But in the dream world, She's dressed in like the blue clothes, like the very kind of simple blue, elegant kind of like, I don't know, very, not peasanty stuff, but very kind of chill clothes compared to what she's wearing. But more specifically, they're blue. So she's like kind of wanting to go back to those old times when she used to be a blue Aes Sedai. And I just thought that was kind of lovely and beautiful. I don't know, I just thought that was really, really nice. And a little touch to her dream persona. And kind of speaks to like what she's thinking about subconsciously or what she wants subconsciously. I don't really have much else to say, but wow. Elaine's pirate costume when she's doing the channeling in her dream, when Egwene at the end of the episode like jumps through everybody's dreams, and Elaine is just like doing the magic powers everywhere, like taking the boat in her dreams. She's wearing this pirate getup. Yeah, I don't know. It might be the sexiest thing I've ever seen in my life. Outside, of course, Lanfear wearing Freddy Krueger's iconic striped red and green shirt. I gotta stop mentioning that. You're gonna think that I'm being serious when I said I was daydreaming about that, which obviously I wasn't. And so, yes, unfortunately, that is it for Fashion Talk. Talking about fashion. Yeah, I don't have much to say about the fashion this week, which, yeah. No one's more disappointed than me. Okay, so let's talk Egwene and her dream walking powers. So Egwene essentially learns that she's some kind of dream warrior. We had had inklings of like what that meant, but I feel like this episode we got fully into like the lore and the mythology of what a dream walker is. Egwene can essentially conjure up anything and do anything in the dream world. She felt like she needed protection, so she just suddenly had armor on. That armor, well, fashion talk, fashion talk. The armor looked good. End of fashion talk. I had nothing else to say. The armor just looked really cool. I absolutely love this. I feel like we're building to an incredibly exciting Egwene versus Lanfear Dream Warrior battle at some point, presumably probably in the finale of this season. Really excited to see that and just to see what kind of crazy dream conjuring stuff they do. Yeah, just deeply exciting stuff. And the last thing on the dreams in the dream world that I thought was truly interesting and really kind of, I don't know, not confusing, but just kind of like shocking and kind of like, oh, I just presumed it was. And that is that it's not part of the one power. So I just presumed that it's part of the one power, but I think it's really interesting that it's like this different spirituality, this different level of magic or spiritualism or just however you want to kind of call it, like some kind of magical thing that's completely separate to the one power. And so that kind of made me think. So it's like we got Egwene who's got like some kind of separate thing to the one power magic thing going on with her dreams. And then you got Perrin, who I feel like presumably the werewolf powers and things, because the Aes Sedai, I remember they said at some point throughout the series that the Aes Sedai kind of don't trust the werewolf people. And so Perrin with his werewolf powers, is that also a different kind of non-one power kind of situation? And then I wonder, is Matt's whole thing that's going on with the horn and just all of that stuff, is that going to turn out to be actually separate to the one power as well? So you've got Rand, the dragon, you've got Nyneave, who's the best, most powerful channeler of all time. But then the other three, are they going to be kind of the masters or the heroes of these different kind of strands of spirituality and magic that have nothing to do with the one power? And is that kind of what ties them all together? That they're kind of all like the main heroes, if you will, or like the most powerful, the most kind of gifted naturally from birth of these very separate, unique kind of strands of different magical stuff. I feel like I've just said magic too many times. But yeah, I just thought that was kind of interesting, where it's like they've all kind of got this different thing. And at first, I guess for ages, I just presumed it's all to do with the one power, because that's kind of the big main thing going on. But yeah, I kind of like that everyone's got their own little thing going on. And I wonder if that is what kind of makes them all, like ties them all together, is because they're all so unique and separate and different. But yeah, just super interesting and super cool, and I like that it's not all just this one thing. And then there's just a bunch of shit going on all over the place, and it makes it exciting. It kind of feels like the world is bigger, and it makes it feel more expansive, rather than there's just this one little thing. And so Egwene ends the episode dream walking through everybody's dreams. I don't know why, but I particularly like seeing Perrin's one. I just feel like he's gone through so much trauma. He was the kind of one that got given the most trauma straight off the bat, with him accidentally axe killing his wife, which has always just felt so brutal. And just like no one else had to deal with something so extreme and horrible right off the bat. And so it's kind of nice to see like this vision, this dream of what he's dreaming of, what he kind of wants to be. And it's just this simple, humble blacksmith. He's just blacksmithing away, doing some kind of blacksmith thing. I don't really know what he was doing, but it reminded me of when you go into the blacksmith area in Skyrim and you're doing stuff or whatever. And he just looked humble and nice and just like content. He looked happy and content, and he's hanging out with his presumably to-be girlfriend, Lady Gaga, and they're both just having fun blacksmithing. And his wolf is there, the wolf that died in season 2 is there, and it's just really nice and peaceful and beautiful. And I just thought that was utterly delightful. But then, of course, Egwene steps into Rand's dream, and she sees him standing there on the edge of the mountainside, and she's like, Rand does look delightful, all alone. Oh, Egwene. Oh, my dear, sweet Egwene. He's not alone. Lanfear's there. His sexy little side hustle / Forsaken. It's an exciting cliffhanger to end on, where Egwene suddenly realizes that Rand is cheating on her with one of the Forsaken. She's just like, oh no. Oh, what's gonna happen? Presumably, she's going to be very mad. I have a feeling that Egwene is gonna break up with Rand because of this. Not just because maybe she probably definitely should, because Rand's cheating on her with one of the Forsaken, but I also just feel like, I don't know, have I gone crazy? At the end of season 2, Rand looked at Elaine and he's like, who's this sexy lady? And she looks at him. They lock eyes. It's like 2.5 seconds max. But I was like, guaranteed, on my bingo card, they are having sex. They are dating in season 3. That appears to absolutely not going to be the case. But then I thought, Avianda this week was told she's got to hang out with Rand from the minute he wakes up to the minute he goes to bed. And she's like, I don't want to do that. I reckon she does. And she's going to love that. Who wouldn't want to hang out with the chosen one / a very sexy man? I just feel like they're going to eventually fall in love, or at least fuck. Which would then, in season 4, presumably, because I feel like there's not enough time this season now for some reason, Elaine and Rand are going to hook up. But then Elaine's going to be like, wait, did you hook up with Avianda? And then Rand's going to be like, wait, did you guys hook up? And it's going to be this crazy triangle. Love triangle. I don't know why I want that. I don't really feel like that adds anything. I just feel like that's going to happen. I don't know. I don't know why. It feels like, when you got to trust your gut. Sometimes you're just going to trust your gut. And I'm thinking love triangle. Speaking of Rand and Lanfear, before they get busted making out in the dream world, I thought there was a really fascinating and interesting little scene between them where Rand's like, hey, I went to Rewudian. I saw you pre-Forsaken. And I can still kind of sense that part of you in there somewhere. And I really like how she just kind of so offhandedly is like, oh, you just want me to be some doe-eyed little silly little lady. And he's like, no, you were brave. You were strong. You wanted to help people. And I just thought that was really interesting, the way she kind of offhandedly is just like, oh, no, I sucked before I was a Forsaken. I was just nothing. And he's like, no. All your best personality traits are still there. You are still that person, deep buried beneath all the evil Forsaken stuff. And yeah, I just generally thought it was a really beautiful scene. And I love that she just flat out admits it. I mean, she's kind of flat out admitted it before. But this week she's just like, I want you, Rand. For realsies. And he's like, for realsies? And then they kiss. And it's like, hot and heavy stuff. I have talked about Lanfear in a sexual way too much. I like her as a character outside of sexual feelings. I do. Just trust me. No, but for real, I thought that scene was absolutely fantastic. And I really like how Rand was kind of trying to, grab something that maybe Lanfear think is lost within her. Yeah, I just thought it was a really interesting scene. And I would just watch those two kind of play off each other. And I think having seen that, especially on the rewatch, that kind of pre-Lanfear, whatever her name was, Moiraine or something. I don't know. It's just kind of really interesting to see where she was. We obviously don't really see, or we haven't seen yet, where she kind of is turned and twisted. But there is just that beautiful line where she's just like, before she's turned into Lanfear, where she's like, there's the most important thing is being with those who you love. And so obviously at that point she's been heartbroken by the dragon. And so she gets this second chance with the same person reincarnated, but also Rand is pretty different, at least from what we've seen. He is pretty different. And I guess he even just looks different. So it's this really weird, interesting, complicated kind of situation where she's falling in love with the same soul, but it is kind of a different person. And I don't know, I'm just really interested to see how that plays out as we keep going throughout the series. So Nyneave, Elaine, Matt and Min are all hanging out on the boat, and I really like seeing Matt and Min just bickering away together. Matt finds the picture, she's been doodling pictures of him hanging himself, which I don't know. It feels like maybe don't draw those when you know you're on a boat with him. And I know she didn't think he'd see them, but just like maybe you don't draw them. Like they're in your head. Why are you manifesting your dreams, your visions onto paper? Just seems like a recipe for disaster. And of course it is. Matt finds the picture and he's like, this again? This again, Min? And Min's like, yes, this again. Utterly delightful stuff. I cannot wait to see how he tries to subvert and change hanging himself leads to him hanging himself. I imagine it won't be that he hangs himself, but that someone hangs him. Obviously, we saw a bit of foreshadowing that they hang, I don't know, criminals or whatever in Tortuga. Sorry, not Tortuga. Tanchiko, which is essentially the Wheel of Time version of Tortuga. I love Tanchiko. It looks super cool. Everything there looks super cool. Just really dirty, grimy. Just like, it feels like you can taste it. Like you just see a shot of Tanchiko and you can just taste it. And like, I feel it's one of those places, and I feel like I've been to some of these places in real life, like in the world, where you're like traveling somewhere and like you walk down one street and like the smells and the aromas of like one street are like the most mind-blowing, just like, it's just so, just vibrantly, just, oh, it's like so exotic and just, it smells so very good. I don't even know what I'm smelling, but that's the greatest smell I've ever had. And whatever it is, I need to eat it right now. And then you go down like one alley, just like a street down the road, and it's like the worst, most disgusting smell you've ever experienced. And you're like, what combination of 6 horrible things is this to create this very unique, disgusting smell? I hate it. I hate it. And like, that's the town that I feel like Tortuga is. Sorry. Tanchiko is. And I love it! I feel like the most important line this episode for Nyneave's character is the magic witch lady that's the pirate magic witch lady. Oh, also, pirate magic witch ladies. That reveal was super cool. They're just channeling to make the boat go really fast. I thought that was super exciting. The reveal that they're magic witch ladies, but that they channel differently and don't want to be controlled by the Aes Sedai, and they kind of want to do it their own way. I thought that was really interesting. And the way that the pirate magic witch lady, and like the chief, the captain, the pirate captain lady, she's like, Nyneave, do you hate not being in control? And Elaine's like, that's literally her whole thing. And so I just feel like that's probably the key line there. And essentially the important reason that these pirate magic witch ladies that aren't Aes Sedai have been like kind of introduced into it is just to show Nyneave that there's a way to do the one power and not be rigid and structured the way the Aes Sedai do it. And I think that's going to be key for her to unlocking her super awesome magic powers. And yeah, I just think that was really interesting, and I'm kind of interested to see if she's going to kind of go down a road and a path where she keeps meeting people on the fringes, keep like people on the outskirts who kind of channel in their own unique, interesting ways, which helps her find her own voice for when she does her big magic witch power lady stuff. Yeah, super interesting, super exciting. Actually, I have more. Fashion talk. It's fashion talk time. I thought the pirate costumes look really cool, particularly like the gold things going around their faces. Just good stuff. Like, I just love when you see a character and you're like, I get everything I need to know. Pirate. So this week, Perrin and his to-be girlfriend, Lady Gaga, they go and try and save Matt's mum and Matt's sisters from the evil White Cloak characters. We've got the guy, I think his name's Dane or something like that. Dane and the Questionnaire. The Questionnaire, that doesn't sound right. The Questionnaire. What is his name? The Question Man? The Questionnaire / the Question Man. No, neither of them are right. That makes him sound like a Batman villain. But in a lot of ways, he is a Batman villain. He's like, I question them. And then when they get the questions wrong, he burns them alive like a witch. Crazy. A crazy evil guy. Loved him in season 1. I feel like he was one of the peak moments and the most interesting and horrifying villains and just characters in season 1. I feel like he wasn't really in season 2, maybe 1 or 2 scenes. So it's great to see him back, doing his questions, being a real prick. I like the contrast between him and Dane. I want to say Dane Haddleford or something. I don't know. I could Google it, but I won't. And I like the contrast where Dane is kind of like, I don't know, he's kind of as nice as a White Cloak can be, and he's kind of pushed into being more of a villain because, well, Perrin did kill his dad. And so, you know, no matter how nice you want to be, if someone kills your dad, you kind of want to kill them back. Fair. But I like that he is completely contrasted as being essentially as nice as you can be for a White Cloak to the Questionnaire / Question Man, who sucks. He's a massive prick. He's like the worst guy ever. And if you didn't think he was, he burned Matt's mum alive. Like, I couldn't believe it. I genuinely saw it. I was like, look at me like, no way. That is crazy. Like, I know she's not a main character, but they've brought her back being like, Matt's mum's here. What do you think about that? It's like a connective tissue to season 1. and then just to burn her alive like that. I mean, it was off screen. It's almost more shocking having that reveal after. Like, don't even give her a scene dying. Just crazy. Super brutal. I also think it's really tragic where Egwene's doing the dream jumping stuff at the end of the episode. And of course, Matt's having a dream with his sisters and his mum. And it's just, it's heartbreaking and tragic. There's also a moment in that battle where Elaine tells her toy boy to leave. And I was like, are they actually going to separate these characters? It's kind of crazy that we're going to have so much going on. These two characters feel like if they're split apart, are they going to really get much screen time together? But never fear, because she gets Boromir'd the hell out of, and then he comes back to save her, which was super awesome. Really fun little action set piece. I absolutely love the moment where she does her magic powers and the smoke rolls in, the fog rolls down the big hill and just seeps into the town or like the encampment or whatever. And I just love that moment where everybody's just like engulfed in the fog, and just one of the White Cloaks is just like, what a fog, huh? And then the Questionnaire is like, this is no natural fog. And you're like, that's why this guy's the Batman villain and you're just a henchman. He knows what's up. And so the last thing I want to talk about is the fact that Lady Sedai, the chick that talks like this, she's doing a whole bunch of little finger politicking, and they essentially find out that there's 12 Black Aja, 12 evil magic witch ladies, but they found 11, like 11 out of themselves, so there's one to go. And I think that's super exciting and super interesting. I kind of felt like as soon as that scene played out, the start of episode 1 of season 3, that I was kind of like, that's crazy there were so many and they all out of themselves, but there's got to be a couple more. And I think it's probably more exciting if it's just one, because it really kind of goes, we've got to get this one character, and it kind of focuses in on something like obtainable, and it's kind of good that it's maybe not everybody. Like, so they're not just all evil, because then if they were all evil, why didn't they all just team up on like the 3 that weren't? So it makes sense that there's only one left. And I have a theory as to who it is. And I got to check my notes for a name, because I don't know a name. Just, bear with me. Shit, where did I put it? Oh, here we go. Leanne Sheriff. Maybe I didn't pronounce that right, but yeah. Leanne Sheriff is, I am calling it 200% the 12th and final Black Aja. She's like the tall one who has the stick, and she goes, boom, boom, you can enter the room, boom, boom. She's like the second in command, maybe. I think that's what my impression is. She's the second in command. Why do I think that? 2 reasons. 1, she's the second in command. That just kind of makes sense, like to be like so high up and just like, oh my god, how could there be so many Black Aja? But then the next reveal being like, oh my god, she was like second in command. How could we let someone get that high up? And all that stuff. It's just more juicy if it's someone important, someone we know, a known character that has said words. Despite me not knowing her name, I know her visually. She's the tall one with the stick that goes boom boom. She lets people into the room. Also, she's been in a bunch of scenes. She's the one that stops the Grey Man from killing a croaky voiced woman, Elaine, whatever her name is. She stopped the Grey Man from killing her after a couple of stabs, though. Didn't stop him stabbing her a couple of times. Just get a bit of pain in, because she's a Black Aja, obviously. Also, on my rewatch of, I want to say episode 2, knowing, when I rewatched episode 2, knowing that the Forsaken was Gabriel, there's a moment where he walks into the tower and he speaks to everybody. And he's all like, hey, it's me, Gabriel. And she, boom, boom, Leanne, whatever her name was, she was like, stutters for a moment, or kind of there's a moment of kind of what's your name again? Gabriel, that's right, Gabriel. Because he would have put a spell on everybody that's not evil, but she's the last evil one in there. So she didn't have the spell on her. So she's like, shit, that's the Forsaken guy. What the fuck's his secret name? What's it? Gabriel. So that, I'm like Sherlock Holmes. Deducing stuff. I'm Sherlock Holmes. I figured it out. Unless that's wrong, and then, it was just some stupid theory on Reddit. What an idiot thinking that. Clearly it was insert other character that it obviously is here. But yeah, no, I definitely think it's her. Maybe I'm just imagining things. But yeah, I think it's her. Lock it in. Lock it in, Eddie. That's a local reference. That's not going to play. Overall, another fantastic episode of Wheel of Time. I absolutely love this show, and if you love watching someone talk about how much they love this show, feel free to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all the YouTubey things, and most importantly, comment below. I would love to know, what did you think about this episode of Wheel of Time?